For those with good taste.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boys from For Those with Good Taste. I'm Matt. He's Lenny.
Salutations.
And we're coming to you with an in-depth preview and a look at UFC 264's Conor McGregor versus Dustin Poirier 3.
But before we do that, do yourself a favor and your friends a favor before you show up to the Buffalo Wild Wings not knowing shit on Saturday night. And you click the link in the top left corner. It's going to be right around here, I hope. And it's going to be for our episode of Tale of the Tape, where we break down everything that led up to the events of the second fight. All the ebbs and the flows. We got all the losses. We got all the knockout punches. We even might have talked about a dolly going through a bus at one point. So do yourself a favor. Click on that link.
Because leading up to that second fight, everything was respectful. Everything was cordial. Exchanges of hot sauce were had. And there was even talk of charity donations being made. And it really all came to a halt when that second fight commences. And thankfully, we get a longer fight than the first one.
That we did.
And we get ourselves a 2-round barn burner between these two gentlemen.
It's a fight that had a little bit of everything, Matt. We had a really, really nice time takedown in the first round by Dustin, while Conor also still showing that his hands aren't nothing to sleep on, baby.
Definitely.
Conor showed some great grappling ability to get right back up, and we even had some really strong clinch exchanges, accented by the signature shoulder strikes from Conor McGregor.
And it seemed like in that first round, both gentlemen were really kind of working things to their advantage and seeing which one could come away with it. But coming into that second round, Conor felt like he had some momentum, but Dustin was able to put the pressure on him.
Yeah, through all the momentum that Conor had built in the first round, and he seemed to be the one winning at that point, you did see some seeds of strong game plan coming through with Dustin. Like I said, a strong takedown, but through all the punching exchanges, he managed to not take a ton of damage, and he was landing these really, really nice leg kicks to the heavy lead leg of Conor. This causes the leg to go dead, and it leads to just a flurry, an onslaught from Dustin Poirier to end the second fight.
And he comes away with a second round TKO, feeling like he was on top of the world. And
can't blame him.
You know, the aftermath of that second fight would lead you to believe that everything would stay respectful and cordial between these two gentlemen. Doesn't really happen that way, huh, Len?
No, as you had mentioned back, the talks of donations soon turned sour, with Dustin accusing Conor of not paying up, which has since been discussed to death, and we won't bore you with those details now, but if you haven't read them, go check out the tweets. They're quite funny.
Yeah, you would certainly think that probably don't blast all that out there. Keep that between a gentleman's conversation.
You'd hope.
But, man, there was so much lashing out on Twitter and in different interviews, and we then get set up for a third fight.
We are. And even up to this point, as of fight week where we are now, we're still seeing some hostility between these two competitors. We're seeing the disdain that maybe we had gotten in the first fight. They're getting under each other's skin. And it's not just Conor with Dustin, it's Dustin with Conor.
Yeah, it's looking eerily similar to the buildup of that first fight between the two.
Yep. So specifically, it's Conor telling Dustin to not be a shooting ass, shelling ass bitch.
Which, to me, it just screams, these guys want to stand and bang, and Conor is not wanting to go down to the ground with Dustin.
But to Dustin's point, it also does scream insecurity. And are you a little bit worried about the grappling exchanges? And do you think you might get subbed like you have a couple other times in your career?
Well, I think going into this third fight, it gives us a great opportunity to think about looking back on that second fight. What could these guys have done better, and what could they do going into this next fight?
That's a great question, Matt. Let's get into that. Do you want to start with Conor first?
I think it's only fair that we start with Dustin because he won the first fight.
Sure. I mean, Dustin seems like the more obvious path here, just in that he did win the second fight. He has been more active over the entirety of the past 5-6 years, right? He's built really, really solid momentum fight over fight. And I think if he stays mostly with the same game plan, he could come away with some victories. We may see him grapple a bit more. I think that's a quite obvious advantage that he has. Not to say Conor's any slouch, but it will wear on him. And Dustin, through the grind that he is able to put out there, is going to always be there later in the fight.
It really seems like he's able to put the pressure when it's really needed, and that's been a huge strength for him. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it really pay off in the experience that he's had in championship fights. I mean, it didn't last long with Khabib, but he's been in situations where he's been able to push through anytime he's facing adversity.
Dustin is a person who's been both the hammer and the nail, and has showed us that he can shine through in both of those scenarios and come back even stronger. That's something that I think still to this day a lot of people question with Conor. And it's something that Dustin has brought up, is that he's going to always win on the heart game when it comes to him and Conor McGregor. And I think that's where we need to see. I think this could get outside of the second round. And if it does, I think that'll be it'll show a huge side of Conor that we haven't had to see in a very long time. The bigger questions for me are definitely on the side of Conor McGregor.
Big time. I mean, you and I have always said that inside of 2 rounds, there is probably not a more dangerous fighter than Conor McGregor.
Just not me and you, my friend, everybody.
Oh, well, I thought we were the know-it-alls of the world, right?
Yeah,
but
yeah.
We're certainly on the right track, right? When we talk about Conor McGregor being, the lethal striker that he is, inside of 2 rounds, it's very difficult to survive that onslaught. But Dustin has shown that if you can survive, or not even survive, but thrive and continue to put pressure, Conor's been known to wilt under that pressure. Len, would you agree?
Yes, but I think if Dustin was to come out and fight a fully aggressive, he didn't fight aggressive in the second fight. He was willing to counter. He let Conor walk him down heavy on his lead leg, similar a la to like a Diaz brother style.
Yeah, definitely.
And he was able to absorb through most of that first round. And did he get caught a couple times? Yes, he did. But he didn't ever get rocked. And I think Conor needs to address some of that. And I think a major thing for Conor is the range that he's going to fight at in this fight. Because clearly boxing range is going to leave you susceptible to getting taken out at the legs.
Yeah, he's got to be bouncing in and out. He's got to be able to move, have the foot movement that he had that made him really successful earlier in his career.
Yeah. So that's going to be the first thing for me with Conor that I'm looking for, is seeing that if he can change that range a bit, he can maybe be a little bit more bouncy on his feet, similar to his older style. And I've seen that from a lot of people, so that's nothing new. If he does not do that, we've got to check the leg kicks. We've got to address that, because that is going to be the easiest thing. If Dustin's doing nothing else, he's going to try and land those leg kicks. We know Conor is prepared through the Khabib fight for takedowns.
Yep.
I don't
he
have a
even
question
showed
there.
that he was able to kind of get back up and push through it against Dustin, certainly. But it really does play to the strengths, right? If we see this being an all-out brawl in those first couple rounds, it certainly lends itself to Conor's advantage. If it goes outside of it, we know that Dustin can really become the hammer in that situation.
I don't even know, just to be clear on my opinion, I don't know if an all-out brawl lends itself to Conor McGregor. I think he's a sniper. He's not a brawler.
Well, he's I mean, you've made a mention that he certainly wants to be the counterpuncher, and making him come to you is definitely going to play into the strength of Dustin. But, in that first round, it seemed like they were both landing shots, and it seemed like Dustin was able to take more of the shots that Conor was dishing out. Do you think he needs to establish himself and kind of gain Dustin's respect early?
I think Dustin's going to respect him no matter what. I think a question that Artem Lobov presented was, did Conor respect Dustin enough in the second fight? And I think when you look at the way he handled himself in that lead up to the fight, with how respectful he was and how I don't think he really did. I think it was like, hey, buddy, like I'm bringing you up to my level for another go. I'm going to knock you out again. And it was almost like he was dealing with his little brother. I'm going to be really nice to him because I don't feel him as a threat. And I think that's where you've seen some of his attitude change, is that maybe he does realize that this isn't the same guy he fought at UFC 178 that he came in at UFC 257. You think about the time that changed there, and maybe Conor just didn't take it seriously enough, or he was so high on himself, which has also been a Conor issue at points.
Yeah, and do you think that presents in and of itself a bit of an issue here? Because as we're measuring out this fight and we're taking a look at what the outcome could be, without putting in a pick yet, what's next for both of these fighters? I
mean, you got to know who wins. I mean, either one of them is going to be the next person to fight Charles Oliveira, if you're going to say what's next. I mean, that would just make too much sense.
Makes sense.
Who the loser is going to kind of, that dictates a little bit more what happens. Conor goes on to Diaz or something. But as far as this fight's concerned, and who I think is going to win or lose, rewatching the fight yesterday for the first time in quite some time, I came away again with the same pick I had last time.
Yeah.
I'm taking Conor. I might be fucking crazy. But I see what he did in the first round, and he looked like a person who had it under control. And I believe that in rematches, he's the kind of person who will find a way to address those leg kicks properly. And that's the major thing he needs to go ahead and address. Because the takedowns, I think he's addressed that issue in his career. The gas tank's always going to be a problem. I don't think he should even put that in his head. Get this done in 2 rounds, but address the leg kicks. And that's going to be the key to all of this. If we see heavy leg kicks in the first round of this fight, book's written, game over. But I think Conor will address it, and I think he's going to come out and get the victory.
Those are strong and powerful words, my friend. But I do think the book is written. I think that there may have been a formula that's been uncracked. And I think that...
I think it would just be cracked.
What did I say?
Uncracked.
That's not a word. What I would say is that when I look at that first fight and I look at the second fight, it's almost like a changing of the guard. And you're someone who talks very heavily about people being on runs. And I just don't know if this is the swan song for Conor McGregor at this point. For me, as difficult as it is, I've got to put my pick on Dustin Poirier in this one. I think he has what it takes to continue putting the pressure. I don't think you're crazy for choosing Conor, because Conor, if anyone can come back from it, it is definitely Conor McGregor. But I think Dustin Poirier has realized that Conor's ship has sailed and is going to ride off into the sunset with a title shot against Charles Oliveira.
It's quite the pick, Matt. We're on opposite sides of the coins here. Let us know what you're feeling for this weekend coming up. Let us know some of the other fights you're excited for. Is Conor going to get a finish here? Does Dustin knock him out again? Is it under 2? Is it over 2?
Does it go the distance?
There's a lot of questions going into this one. And as always, when Conor McGregor's going to fight, the whole world's hyped up about it.
Everybody's tuning in. We're certainly going to be tuning in.
Yeah.
You guys got to tune in.
And you know where you can tune in every week for hot takes like these?
That'd be right here, Len. But then they can also tune in to For Those With Good Taste on Instagram.
You can also find us at Good Taste Live on Twitter.
And then we're on all of the other streaming platforms.
Obviously, you're finding us here on YouTube, but you can check us out on Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, Pandora, iHeartRadio, Deezer, and you know about them, D's Nuts, baby.
The list goes on. But
as always, though, we love you. If you could, give us a like, give us a comment down below. There's going to be some links at the end of the video. Check out another one of our videos. There's a lot of good stuff to hear from us. We are funny sometimes.
We have our moments.
Yes.
And this is definitely one of them, guys. Make sure to check everything out and let us know what you thought of the tale of the tape. But we're out of here.
Peace. Enjoy the fights.
For those with good taste.